Let us begin with a simple, undeniable truth that you have already recognized. If there is one consistent way to lose, it is by inaction. Rule 1 of even having a shot is trying. This is more than a piece of motivational advice. It is a fundamental law of human existence, as real and as consequential as gravity. Inaction is not a neutral state. It is an active choice with definitive, often devastating outcomes. It is the silent killer of dreams, the quiet eroder of potential, and the guaranteed path to a life of regret. To understand why this is so, and to learn how to overcome the powerful inertia of inaction, we must look deeply into the psychological mechanisms that hold us back, and the practical steps we can take to move forward. The state of inaction is rarely one of simple laziness. It is a complex psychological landscape, often built upon a foundation of fear. Fear of failure is the most obvious culprit. The terrifying prospect of investing our energy, our heart, and our self-worth into an endeavor only to fall short. The ego, in its desperate attempt to protect itself, concocts a compelling narrative. If you do not try, you cannot truly fail. The failure can be blamed on circumstances, on other people, on a lack of opportunity, but never on your own inadequacy. This is a seductive yet utterly false form of self-preservation. The truth it conveniently ignores is that by not trying, you have already failed. You have failed to honor your own potential. You have failed to give your idea a chance to breathe. You have failed to learn, to grow, and to evolve. The failure of inaction is absolute and final, whereas the failure that comes from trying is merely a piece of data, a lesson that shapes the next attempt. Alongside fear of failure lives its more insidious twin, fear of success. This may sound counterintuitive, but it is remarkably common. Success brings change, responsibility, and heightened expectations. It pushes you out of your known world, your comfortable identity, and into a new one where the rules are different and the stakes are higher. What if I succeed and cannot sustain it? What if it changes my relationships? What if I'm exposed as an imposter? Inaction in this light becomes a safe harbor, a way to maintain the familiar even if the familiar is a state of dissatisfaction. The psyche often prefers a known misery to an unknown joy. Recognizing this hidden fear is crucial. It allows you to question the assumption that your comfort zone is truly comfortable, or that the status quo is serving you. Beyond fear, inaction is sustained by perfectionism. The perfectionist's mantra is not do it well, but do it perfectly or not at all. This is a paralyzing standard. It sets the bar so impossibly high that even starting feels futile. The first sentence of the book must be a masterpiece. The first line of code must be flawless. The first step in the business plan must be revolutionary. Since this is almost never achievable, the project remains eternally in the planning stage, a perfect, untarnished idea in the mind, but a non-existent entity in the real world. Perfectionism is the armor we wear to protect ourselves from the messy, imperfect, but vital process of creation. It is a defense mechanism that masquerades as a virtue. The antidote is to embrace the philosophy of good enough. A good enough draft is infinitely more valuable than a perfect unwritten one. A good enough first attempt is the raw material from which excellence is eventually forged. Then there is the overwhelming nature of large goals. A goal like write a novel, get in shape, or start a business is so vast and complex that it can trigger a state of cognitive overload. The brain, faced with such an immense task, simply shuts down. It's like looking at a mountain you are supposed to climb and feeling your legs go weak. The path isn't clear, the summit seems impossibly distant, and the entire endeavor feels doomed from the start. This is where inaction becomes the default, not out of a lack of desire, but out of a sense of helplessness in the face of the monumental challenge. The goal becomes a source of anxiety rather than a source of motivation. So how do we dismantle these barriers? How do we move from the stagnant waters of inaction into the flowing current of effort and engagement? The answer lies in a deliberate and compassionate rewiring of your approach to action itself. First, you must redefine what trying means. In our culture, trying is often synonymous with succeeding. This is a dangerous and inaccurate linkage. To try is to engage in a process. It is to take a step, however small, with no guarantee of the outcome. The value is in the step itself, not just in the destination it may or may not lead to. Every time you try, you are sending a powerful message to your subconscious. I'm a person who acts. I am someone who faces challenges. I am alive and engaged with my life. This builds self-trust, which is the ultimate currency of a fulfilling life. You begin to trust that you will show up for yourself, regardless of the external result. To combat the paralysis of large goals, you must master the art of the small start. Break the mountain down into a single manageable step. Do not think about writing a book. Think about writing one paragraph for 5 minutes. Do not think about getting in shape. Think about putting on your walking shoes and stepping outside for a 10-minute walk. Do not think about starting a business. Think about writing one email to one person to ask one question. The psychological power of this is immense. A small step is not intimidating. It does not trigger the same fear response. It is a low-stakes experiment. And once you take that one small step, you have created momentum. You have changed your state from inaction to action. You have proven to yourself that you can do it. The second step is always easier than the first. Alongside small starts, practice focusing on process over outcome. When your primary goal is to get published or make $1 million, you hand over your sense of agency and self-worth to forces largely outside your control. This is a recipe for anxiety, and when the outcome is not immediately achieved, a reason to quit. Instead, anchor your sense of success in the process. Your goal is to write for 30 minutes each day. Your goal is to make 3 new business contacts this week. Your goal is to follow your workout plan. These are actions you have 100% control over. When you succeed at the process, you have already won regardless of the larger outcome. This shifts your identity from being outcome-dependent to being action-oriented. You become a writer because you write consistently, not because you have a bestseller. You become an entrepreneur because you work on your business daily, not because you have achieved a certain revenue. This identity is unshakable and self-sustaining. Furthermore, you must learn to cultivate a different relationship with failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is an integral part of it. It is feedback. Every failed attempt contains critical information about what does not work, which inevitably guides you closer to what does. The scientist does not see a failed experiment as a personal indictment. She sees it as data. Adopt the same mindset. When you try and fail, ask yourself, what did I learn? What would I do differently next time? How is this bringing me closer to my goal? This transforms failure from a stopping point into a stepping stone. It removes its emotional sting and harnesses its intellectual and practical value. Finally, remember that inaction has a cost. We are often so focused on the potential cost of action, the time, the energy, the risk of embarrassment, that we become blind to the steep, ongoing cost of inaction. Every day you do not pursue a meaningful goal, your skills in that area stagnate. Your confidence in your ability to pursue difficult things diminishes. The dream itself begins to fade, becoming a bittersweet memory of what might have been, which over time can curdle into a source of deep regret. The cost of inaction is paid in the currency of your future self. It is a debt that comes due with compound interest, manifesting as midlife crises, a general sense of emptiness, and the haunting question, what if I had just tried? Rule 1 of even having a shot is trying. This is the non-negotiable first principle. It is the spark that ignites every engine of progress, both personal and global. It is the decision to step into the arena of your own life, to get muddied and dusty and bruised, but to be there, present, and fighting for what matters to you. Inaction is a surrender to the void. Action is an affirmation of existence. It is how we discover our capabilities, how we build resilience, and how we find meaning. The outcome of any single attempt is uncertain, but the outcome of a life defined by sincere, consistent effort is not. It is a life of growth, of learning, of self-respect, and of knowing deep in your bones that you showed up for yourself. You did not stand on the sidelines of your own destiny. You stepped onto the field, and you played the game. And in the grand scheme of a human life, that is the only victory that truly matters.